I really don't have any of this eating grandma's apple pie, love story.
I was just going to say, I think, a lot of people are coming up with those stories 10 years in. They need to fetch for something glamorous and something, heartbreaking, heartwarming, right? My mom's apple pie or whatever. But, to be honest with you, that's not really necessarily how it looks for most people. Most people ending up in restaurant industry because they simply need to go out and get a job.
Yeah, it was just, like you said, like a locker room feeling. It was, I think, kind of a thing. Instead of going into the army, you went to a restaurant. And it was like always high tempo. It was party afterwards, nightclub, whatever.
It schooled you somehow.
Yeah, and being young and being 14 or 13 or whatever, like it was pretty cool back then to like, oh, I can go to nightclubs when I'm 14, but the age limit was 18. There was always rock and roll, really.
It was kind of like, taking one little small step into the adult life. And along with that came sort of the push and you're learning new things and so on. But I think it was a few years after that, I realized that, okay, now I'm in the kitchen, I love it. But what is that guy doing over there? He's really good at this. And, he's working in a really good restaurant. So, fuck that, I also want to be the best.
But I think the dynamic between us and the roles, we pretty much both do the same things on a daily basis. We obviously cook together and we work a little bit different. Marcus is a little bit older than me, maybe to the better.
So I need to sit down more?
No, yeah, maybe.
Even though we're going to be sort of a high-end restaurant, it needs to be like a very personal experience. You're going to feel like you're coming into your second kitchen, your second living room, essentially. And the menu and the format in which we want our guests to dine in is going to feel totally unscripted.
I think Habitué is very unscripted. There's not really a rule of how we should work or bring a dish to the table more than it has to start with the ingredients. It has to end up with the ingredients. And for us to convince you guys to love it or to be a fan of it, we have to be the first, fan of the
educators,
of the dish or particular ingredient. I think everything we get ourselves into, we have huge expectations. At least from Dry Ager, we knew it's a bigger brand, it's a serious brand. It looks amazing. We heard so much good stuff about it, and I have nothing else to say than it's for sure met our expectations.
I can fill in. I think for us, Dry Ager was no doubt a cabinet that would be able to elevate our sort of basic meat and poultry. But I think what we learned is what you touched on earlier as well, like how it can also change our precision when it comes to developing charcuterie and starting and storing and maturing cheese. That's been awesome. And quite honestly, they're beautiful, but I can't wait to see how awesome it's going to be also once we actually get to integrate them perfectly in our living room. So I think to me it's beyond expectation in that sense that they facilitate us with the environment where we can professionally take our art further, and at the same time they're very pretty and it's just a great addition to the room. It gives structure to the meat, as it reduces the water content ever so slightly. It'll concentrate the flavor. It comes naturally with that. And it also crisps and dries out the skin. So it just gives you a more sort of crisper, lighter crust after you blister it over the fire.
Also way more even cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's less water, so it's it's more even cooking. When we cook the food, we're really ultimately all about that ingredient and bringing out the natural aroma. And if we don't have a cabinet or a fridge or a storing facility that we can fully trust, then we won't ever really know what to expect from the product. And we're sourcing some of the most unique and some of the most interesting cuts and products from amazing farmers. And it just feels so rewarding to be able to deliver on not only on the behalf towards our guests, but also for them to be able to actually take their product and really give them and justify them and give them a good environment so we can really fully express the product's quality. I mean, that's truly like, it feels so good, honestly, to be able to do that. We have a small operation, but aging takes time. So even though we don't serve big scale or large groups, we still can allow ourselves to be, looking forward and, age for a few months ahead all the time. And it's just, game changing in that sense.
Yeah.